All right, our next project, we're going to make these toys. Got our little airplane, our little train, and a bus. Okay, we're not going to worry about coloring them. You can do that at home. We're just going to be worrying about doing a good quality job of building them. Okay, so first thing we want to do is get some wood from Mr.R. Generally one piece of wood will work. We have 3 different patterns, one for each one. First thing, check your wood. Evaluate your piece of wood, see what you have to work with. Edges, a little bit of sanding, and these will be in good shape. Got a good clean end here, a little bit rough here. We wouldn't want to use that right on a piece. Knots, this is not a very good end. We got a crack right there and some knots. Knots are okay if they fall right in the center of a piece, but you don't want them right on an edge where they're going to chip off and then you're left with the big deal. So knots are okay if they can be in the center. Edges are great. You don't want a rough edge or end like this. Okay, so I like to start with the bust. Generally, if I can, I like to start it right on the end. Okay, so I can put it flush on the end and flush. 2 of my cuts are already done. Okay, but that isn't going to work because I've got a bad spot here, a little bit of a bad spot there. So on this piece of wood, we got a crack there. That is not going to work. Okay, if we put it right there, we'd have that. This piece of wood you can see with nice clean end and edge, that would work. We could put it right on there and trace that all the way around. Now I watch a lot of kids that will take their project and send it out kind of in the center, trace it out all the way around. Well, why do that when you have a nice clean ends, cleaner and straighter than you can cut on the scroll saw? So if you're putting it out there, you're just creating a lot more work for yourself. Put it on right where you can. Okay, on a piece of wood like this, we'll use it the best we can. Okay, I would probably jump over these marks right here. You could put it on nice and flush. Trace it out right there. Your next piece, that knot would be fine. We could, but that's going to hit right there. That wouldn't be very good. We could put this one right here. Put it nice and flush. That would be okay. So you could trace that one out there. This one, we got that crack right there. No, that would be all you would get out of this one. Now these pieces of wood, we have a cardboard box underneath the table saw. That's where you would put these. I'm going to go ahead and use this nicer piece of wood and trace these out real quick so I can move on to the next step. I'm going to pause this now. All right. I traced out my pieces. I left enough room, tight so we aren't wasting wood, but enough room for the saw to easily get in between. Now you notice my lines are nice and clean. I've seen kids that have done real rough jobs and they're missed big chunks and stuff. Well, if they don't get their pattern on there very well, how are they going to do a nice job of cutting it out? Okay, so next step will be to go to the scroll saws. We have 2 different scroll saws that are operating right now. This big stand in place. Then right back over here, we have our little portable one. This one over here is at the moment, it is broken. We're going to try to send it off this year and get it fixed. So you have that one or the one over behind the gray bandsaw. Okay, the next thing we want to do is to start cutting it out on the scroll saw. Scroll saw has a nice little blade on it, so it can turn pretty sharp. Okay, but it cannot turn 90-degree corners. You can't be sitting in one spot in the wood and turn it. It doesn't work. It's like a car or a bicycle. You've got to be moving forward for it to make the turn. You can't just boom in one spot. Okay, that will bend these blades and possibly break them. Once they get bent, they're pretty well ruined, as good as being broke. All right. You want to make sure your saw is set up right. Right on back right here is our speed control. We want our speed set about 6. Some kids want to think, oh, I'm going to be fast. I'm going to turn this up to 8 so I can cut as fast as I can. Well, what that does is it moves faster than what that blade can cut. So it heats up the blade, which ruins the temper in the blade and dulls up the blade right away. So you have not saved yourself any time at all, and you've just ruined that blade for everybody else. So slow down to about 6 and take your time. Okay, we got to keep just a little bit of down pressure on it, but not very much. If we don't keep down pressure, it's going to want to shake up and down on you. So you do need a little, but you want to try to keep it as light as you possibly can. You don't want to be pushing one way or another against the blade. And when you're pushing down hard, it's easy to do. So you want to keep it as light as you possibly can. Okay, next thing, let's make sure our saw is set up right. We want a little bit of tension on your blade. We don't want it loose, flopping back and forth. This lever right here is our blade tension. We just pull it till it's snug. We don't crank on it, okay? Of course, you need to make sure your blade is tight in the chuck, which is right here, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay, so this saw is set up properly. Next step, I'm ready to start cutting. When you cut, like I said, keep just a little bit of down pressure, keep things nice and light. Stay outside your lines. You hit a line, you're making a corner or something, hit a line, don't keep going through your line. I have kids that do that, thinking, oh, it'll get better, it'll get better. No, it doesn't. It does nothing but get worse. If you hit a line, stop, back up a little bit. You might need to put just a little bit of side pressure to get started out of your old cut. As soon as you get started out of your old cut, you can let off on your side pressure and go in. Anything that's done outside these lines, we can clean up and straighten up. You start cutting through your lines very much, and you're ruining your project. All right, let's get started. All right, we're ready to begin. So let's turn on our saw. Everything's up. Nice and light grip. I don't like this angle.